This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
This past month, I always have shows about marketing, because it is just the bugaboo of so many authors. They get into that overwhelm, the headlights in the eyes. I can't do it. I just want to write, fill in the blank. If you've ever been in that lane and you think you can't get major publicity, we're going to change that today. If you've ever thought about that, but it's just me, I write about nature. What is that for publicity? We're going to change that today. With me is Marjorie Holman. She comes from the fabulous state of Maine, and that she's written 3 books. She is a kind of a walkabout person. She writes about hiking. And that her books, which include, easy walks in Massachusetts, more easy walks in Massachusetts. So we have book 1 and book 2, easy walks and paddles in the 10 Mile River watershed. So she's all about the really central Maine, and what she knows, which is what you all are writing about, what you know, correct? So she's been able to brand herself as this go-to outdoors person and nail down major sponsorships. So this show's about branding yourself, plus how do you get the attention of both the small boys and the big boys that want to come in and support what you do. Marjorie Turner Holman has done exactly that. And she's been featured from the Boston TV News Magazine Chronicle in a variety of episodes. She has gotten the attention of one of the most well-known brands in her neck of the woods, and I can let her reveal who that is. She has been involved with history projects. She's written for the Crush and Science Monitor and many local, regional, and national publications. So let's get on, because this is a show for everybody. That how, when you live in a small community, Maine's a big state, but lots of small communities, but get the attention of people who can help pay your way. That's what we're going to talk about today. Marjorie, welcome to AuthorU-Your Guide to Book Publishing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I hate to correct you at the beginning. I'm in Massachusetts,
go ahead.
Which Maine used to be part of Massachusetts, but it is no longer. And I can't claim Maine, but we're not that far. New England is not that big a place. So thank you so much for having me.
You are correct.
It's a pleasure to be here.
When I was looking at your state, I always think of, and Maine, of course, the initials are M-E, not M-A. And of course, we hit on your book titles, which are Massachusetts, so we took care of that. But we are talking with an expert from the Northeast. How's that, of the United States?
New England is pretty much where I spend most of my time. I'm actually from Florida, but I came up here to college wanted to make sure I would see snow, and I have. It sounds like you have too recently.
Oh my God, it's been crazy today. It was, we're recording it on the day in September that it was 28 degrees here. So we made a record for us for September.
Oh my.
But doing that. So you moved to Massachusetts or the New England area in college time, right?
I came up here for college and fell in love with the area. I never looked back, and it's a good thing. I really am grateful for the upbringing that I had, but I am very, very settled here in New England, though I'll never be considered a native, of course. That doesn't
Well, you know
happen,
what?
but
That's what they said about me in Colorado. I've been here 30 years. You know, I came from California, where I'm a native, and 30 years ago. And now people say, oh, yeah, you're like a native now. There's so many people who have come in. So,
well, again, thank you so much for inviting me to join you. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Oh, you're so welcome. So let's talk about your trekking through the wilds, so to speak.
They're easy walks, and I try to stress to people that I am not the Appalachian Mountain Club, and it's good to know your target audience, and that's an important thing. It didn't happen overnight, but as I've written these books, I've learned a lot about myself, and that's one of the most important things, is to understand what your own strengths are and understand what you have to offer, and then you'll be able to focus better on how to effectively share that.
So I have a quickie question, and you mentioned the Appalachian Trail. Where does that end?
It starts in Georgia. It actually is all East Coast. It starts in Georgia, comes all the way up the East Coast, and stops, I think it's Mount Katahdin is the top of the northern terminus of the Appalachian Trail. And I have been on tiny, tiny bits of it, and honestly, it is rougher than I can do for the most part. It is a lot of rocks, a lot of roots in places, well-worn paths, and a lot of road walking in some places. And that's not what I'm looking for. I am looking for easy walks, not too many roots, not too many rocks, relatively level, and something interesting along the way.
Well, I think that's ideal, and I'll just do an ad as someone who broke her ankle this summer, that you don't want a lot of rocks.
No.
You don't want difficulty, but having something that is visually wonderful and is a learning experience and just terrific to be outdoors, I think is the real plus. And do that. So
anybody with mobility issues, and I include myself in that. I was totally paralyzed 25 years ago and have healed enough to be able to walk with care. But I still I'm very picky about the trails that I'm on, and it took me a long time to realize that all the trails that I enjoy are easy walks. But that's been part of the journey.
Okay, so in looking where you refer yourself as a personal historian who loves the outdoors, I love the fact that you openly share that you have limited mobility, so you had to find where you could go. And I think all of you listening in, that when you get stuck in this, I can't do this because of blah, 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 blah. I can't move, or I can't do this thing, or I'm not driving, or my vision is impaired. There's always something out here that you can do. I'm just going to say it. There's always something out here that your skill set.
It really helps if you find the support that you need. And for each one of us, that's going to be different. And for me, it was my husband persuading me to try using hiking poles. And he said, you're going to have a lot easier time if you try this. And that opened up a whole lot. He is still a whole lot of support. I never hike alone. I always take somebody with me, and that's just a commitment to safety and being careful. But I take pictures everywhere I went and everywhere I go, and I get blog posts. I have over 400 blog posts on my website of different places that I've visited, and I tell people as much as I can about each of them. So
and that's ideal. Here's the other thing: by having your hiking poles that you use, you never know what little critters or something you might come across, and they might be just the perfect little defense to have to put between you
might see
and
more
them.
of them in Colorado than around here. We don't have as many of those in southern New England.
Oh, we had a friend who went up in the mountains, and he was paralyzed to get out of the car because there was a snake right by the driver's side.
Well, snakes are wonderful.
Well, some, not all. We have some of the nasty ones here. Let's just say that. All right, so let's just jump into this. So here we have someone who has taken her love of outdoors, who has written 3 books going walking, easy walks. So she's not climbing mountains and that. She's created a career writing for over 20 years, and she's been featured all over, and she has nailed down a major sponsorship because of her writing and what she does. So let's just start off with, because we have like 2 minutes before our first break, but what is the number one best advice when you started publicizing what you were doing? Where would you guide people to?
Well, I just did a talk yesterday about writing blog posts and just, figuring out why you're doing whatever business you're in. And once you understand your own, why did you choose to do this as opposed to any of the other possibilities, you're going to have a lot clearer idea of what you want to write about. There's a story there. And we all engage much more strongly with story than with anything else that we do. I'm a former professional storyteller as well, so I think in story, but I know that it's true that we engage with stories. What's your story?
Exactly, and that is a good, safe thing to ask. And I think for nonfiction writers, we're going to take our break here now, but for nonfiction writers, if you learn how to do storytelling and writing the stories, you will engage your reader in a nanosecond versus throwing out a bunch of stats at them. All right, we'll be right back with this is Marjorie Turner Holman.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you? Or another? AuthorU shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual AuthorU extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. AuthorU is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover AuthorU, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join AuthorU today at AuthorU.org.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
With me today is Marjorie Turner Holman, who loves to walk, but she has limited mobility, but she still walks. She takes pictures. She writes books, and she has impacted thousands and thousands and thousands of men and women around the country, and seducing them to the charms of New England and Massachusetts. How's that sound, Marjorie? So
that sounds wonderful.
All right. So Marjorie was saying, where would you start writing? And she says, blog post. Right? And you start it with a story. It's the number one to engage readers, which I absolutely do believe as well. What other ways enhance the engagement process?
I didn't quite hear the question.
What other ways enhance the engagement process?
Okay. Well, actually, the whole blog stuff started because I got the advice after I wrote my first walking book. Someone said, "You need a Facebook page," and I said, "Sure, I'll try that." And did I know what I was doing? No. When I set it up, I looked at it and said, "Well, what am I going to put there?" And and Facebook pages need pictures, and I said, "Well, I'll go take another walk and take some pictures." And before I knew it, I created blog posts because those are sort of double duty. Don't just put something on Facebook. Make sure it's on your website so that when people go to your Facebook, when they go, it takes them to your website and it gets them to understand more of what it is you're offering. It really extends the power of anything you post on Facebook. It extends the life of it. It extends the breadth of it. Extends the reach of what people can understand about what you're doing. And before I knew it, I had already finished half of my next book. And just because I was looking for close-by trails that I hadn't visited before, creating blog posts that I was putting up on Facebook. It wasn't intentional. It just sort of, I didn't even recognize it at first. And I think sometimes a lot of us end up writing books that we didn't realize where they were taking us. That's certainly been the case for myself. That I had
that's
no
the
idea
norm.
the life that this is going to take on. Is that right?
Yeah, that is actually a norm. I know that for fiction authors, the characters actually start guiding them and talking to them. And it's always a fun process to be part of as it starts to evolve with the author. For nonfiction, which I'm also a nonfiction author, that I certainly have an idea, but all of a sudden other things drop in that I hadn't thought about. Because once you're in the process, the window opens for you, and you get going, which I kind of like. I think it makes it more fun.
That's exactly what happened with when eventually you wanted to talk about LL Bean and my relationship with them, and that ended up giving me the idea for the latest book that I just finished of Finding Easy Walks Wherever You Are. My first 3 walking books are what I call hyper-local, and very, very local. They're all contiguous towns where I live, 37 towns, the first 3 books. They're all contiguous to each other, so extremely dense in coverage for those towns. But people that live outside of that area, we're not really a tourist area. We're not the Cape. We're not the Berkshires. We're not the White Mountains, places that people from outside of this area would recognize. We're just south central Massachusetts, where a lot of people live. But, and so I was caught with book marketing with how do I reach out, because I would regularly get requests for outside of these towns, would you come to our library and do a presentation? And I said, well, I'd be happy to, but I'm funding my presentation, selling my books, and I'm not going to sell any books there. And when LL Bean they just put a search for easy walks, and not too surprising, I guess, my blogs came up. And that's how a woman in Burlington, Massachusetts found me at the Burlington, Massachusetts LL Bean store. She wanted a program about easy walks. And when we talked on the phone, I said, well, I don't really have anything in Burlington. I'd be happy to come do a presentation. And I honestly don't know whether it was her idea or mine. By the end of the conversation, we had agreed that I would do a presentation about finding easy walks wherever you are. And that is the title of my new book.
Of your new book, which is a terrific title. That's a terrific title. So did LL Bean come in, and are they carrying it in their stores? Do they have it in the catalog?
Well, you notice that we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And so everything has shut down. My relationship was with some individual retail stores. This is where I actually am thinking about what happened. Well, any partnership is a relationship. And the people that I was partnering with, I have reached back out to, and I have heard crickets. I am afraid that they have been laid off. So I'm not back to square one because they have sold my other books at the local store that was within the area where my books are. But my job now is to reach back to the store managers and work through them back to, I hope, be able to get it into their catalog. That would be my goal.
What was it?
It's going to take some time.
Was it ever in the catalog?
It was not, because it was so hyper local. It was only so the books were sold at one specific store. And that's what this woman in Burlington, I said, would you please give me an introduction to the people in the Mansfield LL Bean store, because that's in my area. And so rather than cold calling the Mansfield store, I had a very warm email from this person in Burlington to introduce me to the right person at the Mansfield store, who was very receptive. And we actually planned several events together. We did a hike together. We had Massachusetts Walking Tour, which is a musical group that walks every summer, and they were coming through Mansfield, and we had an event with them at the Mansfield store. We did numerous things in the summer of 2019, and I was in conversation to get the books back in the store in the spring of 2020, and were interrupted when all of a sudden everyone was sent home. Everything shut down.
Well, their catalog is out there. Their catalog's out there. They're selling. They're doing online sales. My suggestion would just be going online and finding out. I would do two things. Now I'm going to put my coaching hat on. I would be doing two things. I would be going at who is now the VP or Director of Marketing for LL Bean, but they are posted on their website. Two, who is their PR company overall for everything? Who handles that? Because PR, I have been a spokesperson for several corporations, and PR is the primary people that handle it. And it's not even, they come up with it, let's do this. Sometimes the idea springs from the PR folks. Sometimes it's from the internal within a company, and then they go to the PR person, to their rep to find someone who will be the right fit for us. And that with, number one, winter's coming. So there's people are shopping. Gift giving is going on. I would be going directly to them to say, let's do a promotion. And how about I do let's do some videos. You've been on air doing some videos that you can push out to your channels as a service to their customer base. I would use customer base. And I would be offering to do some webinars. And the other thing is I wanted to come back because I heard you say a hiccup that you can't sell books at the library. When did that stop? Every library I know is willing to bring in an offer and have book sales that the author handles his or herself. And then I always donated several books back to the library as part of my thank you to them. But so and the libraries, Marjorie, the libraries are doing all over the country are doing online programs for their customers and getting on. And now you don't have to get out your sticks. You could have them as props, but you could just do.
Well, that was my plan was to, but I hadn't quite figured that out when I wrote it because we weren't in the middle of a pandemic when I started writing this a year ago. And in some strange ways, this has really opened things up and leveled my playing field.
Well, this is book marketing online now, and doing an event and just reaching out to all your local libraries, every library that's got a trail through them around them. I would be reaching out.
Well, they all have people that we are really blessed in this state with a tremendous amount of beautiful places. I mean, we're really very, very lucky. But
and you're coming into your beautiful season. Oh my gosh, I drove from New York to the very east part of Connecticut, and it was in October. It was the most sensational color display I'd ever been in. And so, I mean, and who knows what's going on? You know, it's crazy weather. I mean, in Colorado, we started seeing our trees starting to change in August, if you can believe that. And that was nuts.
The trees are stressed if it was at all as dry there as it was here. Our trees are changing.
Oh, no. We have in the middle of the state last month where we were having this freezing freaking weather, snow in September, where we actually net temps that were new records. We were surrounded. It was like a sandwich. We were the center, surrounded by massive fires. So it was crazy. Wow. But I just think that for your kind of book, LL Bean Connection, I would be all over that right now. Let's do something for your customer base. Let's do it online. We could do a series of Zooms or something that we could we could start talking up when we open up again. Walks, you don't have to be in crowds. Walks are with you. Mm-hmm. And I would do a whole new remarketing. All right, we're going to take a quick break. With me is Marjorie Turner Holman. She is a woman of all things, I have to tell you. But she's really a personal historian.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the Events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
Congratulations on getting your book published. The effort you put into your work is truly commendable. But what's next? What will happen to all the knowledge you have worked so hard to acquire to produce your book? Here at TogiNet Radio, we can provide you a platform to keep your knowledge working for you through the power of podcast. The subjects our podcasts cover are as varied as the grains of sand on a beach. From life coaching to military resources to business success, even to the paranormal. We have a place for everyone. To get started on your next step, call Scott at 903-787-5880 or email him at scott@toginetradio.com. That's SCOTT at TOGINETRADIO.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so with me is a Renaissance type of woman who walks everywhere, and she writes about them, and she's written multiple books, and she's developed a wonderful relationship before COVID with LL Bean, which is not a minor person to have on your team, let me tell you. And what you can do is she's just really showing you how to take one idea and expanding it, and then how to come about and get the attention of a major sponsor possibility. So who brings you in, who sells your books, who does the things. And it started with her phrase, easy walks. And LL Bean found her that way. So I'm excited because I'm seeing all kinds of ideas for her to expand it. And so many authors today have kind of shut down thinking, I can't sell books. How can I sell books? Yes, you can. You can sell lots of books.
I'm actually selling quite a few. All the books that I'm selling right now are online. I've been sort of ramping up my publicity campaign, and have had just some very local radio programs, and those have produced some nice bumps in. They're all online sales, so it's all things I'm still doing from home, that I'm not really leaving my house much except to get out to walk. Mm-hmm. And then besides LL Bean, not to go away from, and I appreciated your encouragement when we were during the break to just stick with Amazon and reach out to the marketing people with LL Bean with a pitch. And
well,
I could picture that very well. Thank you.
Okay, so the thing you want to do, for example, I had a deal with Bristol Myers where they bought 25,000 books, all right? And,
well, that would be very nice.
Yeah, that's a special. That's called a special print run, and where they used them for over a 3-year period. They used them with a variety of things, but that their name was on it. I mean, there are things that you could do on a promo site to get their name on it, and mm-hmm. like the VP of marketing could be writing a letter, or the CEO could be writing a front letter. That's a whole special deal. I can talk to you about how to do that. That they get behind that, and they buy a boatload of them. They have them in the stores. They do them for premium, what's called a premium giveaway. There's a lot of things that one can do in that area, which I would encourage people to really look at what's their book, what's the unique fit for Marjorie's. Easy Walks is a unique fit for LL Bean. Outdoors, people are, they've got their fishing gear, they've got their boots, they've got their turtlenecks, of which I have bought all from LL Bean, that you could get out there and have a really, really amazing time. And it'll make a difference. So that I want to encourage all of you, don't get stuck here because of COVID. There are ways to sell books. There are ways to get out there. There are ways to do programs, free programs with libraries, with groups. I mean, Marjorie, I want you to put your hat on. What associations are out there that are outdoorsy?
I've just arranged a Zoom program with we were also talking about nonprofits, or just not necessarily corporate, but how do you partner with nonprofits? And I have a strong relationship with one of the National Historical Parks. It's the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor. It's actually a national park now in our area. It spans 2 states, and I am a certified volunteer with them, and I talk about strategic partnerships that you want to focus your energy on, and they have been very, very generous about anything that I write that has to do with them. When I've gone to their outdoor events, they then share, and I get a tremendous bump on traffic back to my website from any of the blogs with that. And we actually are going to be partnering on a Zoom presentation for the end of the month that will be focusing on fall in New England and the Blackstone Valley Heritage Corridor and easy walks.
Or, I'm actually looking at your book on Amazon as we talk, and here is the Massachusetts Walking Tour. Have
yes.
you thought of? Are you doing a program with them right now? Get that set up.
Well, they wrote the foreword for my book, which was wonderful.
I know.
And what we've done is they go to Western Mass and then Eastern Mass. Their goal is to walk in every single town in Massachusetts and do a concert tour, a concert for the public in every single town. I think they've reached over 110 so far. And about 17 of those towns were partnered with me. And they used my books both times to help publicize my books on those tours. Now that I have Finding Easy Walks Wherever You Are, we were in talk again before COVID of planning group walks that we could do together that they could publicize my books. They had to postpone their entire tour of 2020 to 2021. And so their 2-week tour is postponed. But when we feel like we can offer local walks that feel safe, and I don't know if that will happen this fall or not till next spring, we would like to partner again.
Oh, I have a different idea to partner right now next week. You ready?
Oh, great. Tell us.
Listen, everyone, now you're going to go inside my head. Whoever, who's the head honcho here, this guy, this man and woman who I saw on there, as I look, this is why I love to look at
I'm having a hard time hearing you right now. I'm so sorry.
All right. So you have Rayanne and Mark. All right. They're the founders of the walking tour. There is no way they could not have a humongous email list right now. No way. Why don't you approach them to say, look what fall's coming. Why don't we do a massive Zoom call if they've got that set up, or a series of Zoom things to talk for your membership. They have to register. You could set it up that you charge, split it with it, that, and of course you'll drive sales for you, but you could charge, $20 for them to get the inside getting ready to go instead of being in person. This is going to be a virtual walking tour with you, and take them through a series and bring in some additional money. There's no reason why you can't do this stuff and get paid as well.
I'm having a really hard time hearing you. I'm sure it will be recorded, but I'm sorry, Judith. I can't really hear very well what you're saying.
Okay, that I'm not sure, but what's going on? But yes, this is being recorded, and that what I'm proposing to all of you that are stuck during this COVID times, or things have come to kind of a standstill, is in the case of Marjorie, she has 2 people who head up the Massachusetts Walking Tour, right? And that walking tour, because they do these annual concert tours all over Massachusetts, that they have to have a huge email list. Why not propose doing a special program, either Zoom or Skype or one of the other avenues, for their members to get ready for the fall walking season. That's what, I would absolutely be going for.
I can certainly speak with them about it. The musicians are having a really hard time right now with, and they are turning to Zoom and they are doing stuff. I think everyone has just been knocked on their cans, and it's really taken a while to figure out how to recover and how to respond to the limitations and the challenges. I know that Mark and Rayanne are doing that, and I certainly can have a conversation with them about this suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm just thinking, and for all our listeners, start thinking this way. I'm teaching on, I've converted online courses. I do very successful coaching with authors all over the world, actually, using Zoom and Skype formats. And nothing has slowed down. Literally, nothing has slowed down for me. I'm overwhelmed in some cases, but wow. I was an easy adapter, and I was using these tools before all this happened. And but you can, and that either you can get on and learn them, so you can control it yourself, one, or two, that they may already be there. And it could be maybe because they've been so good to you, Marjorie, that you can reach out and just say, as a thank you gift to all of you, I'd like to do some special programs in celebration of my new book. Right? In celebration of my new book. And you know what? We'll give away a few of the books because that helps tease them.
Yes.
Okay? That helps tease them. I'll give away a few of the books to them and get it. I'm not talking about doing this 2 months from now. I'm saying get it set up for this next month. It's not hard for them to send out an email. Go.
Here. Yeah, foliage season is in the next several
weeks. Foliage is huge. And by the way, all you listeners, you should be doing this. How about doing a special thank you to celebrate getting through the summer? Celebrate that you're well. Do those kind of things. All right, we're going to be right back. One more break. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com. The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book A book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All righty, so we're with Marjorie Turner Holman. I've actually been looking over her beautiful, beautiful color. Of course, Marjorie, I have to tell you, purple's my favorite color. So her book that is available on Amazon.com, and the latest is called Finding Easy Walks Wherever You Are. So that takes care of everybody. For those of you on the East Coast, she has got books with the titles that have easy walking trails in Massachusetts. That would be your cup of tea. So, but Finding Easy Walks Wherever You Are, I think, is a very cool thing to do. So she's taken an idea, which is her love of the outdoors. She's got mobility issues, so she's not going to be climbing like the 14,000ers here in Colorado. She's going for easy walks, which is going to be my cup of tea too. And so she's taken her idea and she's catapulted into a little cottage industry, so to speak. And she developed a relationship with the LL Bean people who loved it too and was featuring it in some of the stores. And then, bam, COVID hits. All right, so COVID's hit everybody, and there's ways to work around it. And this is where the techie people come into play, Zooms and Skypes and some of the other vehicles where you can get out and reach out to your target audience. Everyone, your target audience that has a computer or a phone or an iPad, something that brings in, and remember, 90% of the population have mobile phones. They get images. You could do actual programs on there and doing that. So go back to the people who are in memberships and targets to say, hey, in celebration, what I wanted Marjorie to do, in celebration of my new book, let's do an event online for your people. It will sell books. It will sell books because she's going to be so wonderful. They're going to say, I have to take her home with me and I'm going to order it online. So that was my tip to her. It's my tip to all of you to help move you along. But I also wanted a few more tips from Marjorie. So she said she started with blogs. Then she went to Facebook. And so let's continue with that before we end here this afternoon.
Sure. I'm dipping my toes into the water on Instagram. I'm still figuring that out. I am not an easy adopter of all this technology. I kind of do it because that's where the people are. But I'm experimenting with that, and I've gotten some really nice feedback. Again, I'm just Instagram is pictures, and do I have anything but pictures? I've got pictures for all sorts of different places, and there, as I've heard from other people, I'm getting better with my photography over the years, and it really helps to practice. So, figure out your angle for pictures and have fun. So,
well, and Instagram is all about a story too.
It is.
Yeah, Instagram
and I figured out how to put links. I mean, it's really I am slow with this stuff, but I'm figuring it out. And
Yeah.
You know,
I'm gonna send you actually a link to a whole podcast I did on Instagram with a wonderful
thank you.
person. Yeah,
Sure.
by Deborah Jason. Yeah, we had over 100,000 downloads of the show.
Oh my goodness.
And I just had her do a live presentation with people on Instagram because it is hot. So Marjorie's right, everyone. You know, you need to discover, and I was kind of thinking, do I need another social media platform personally, which I don't, but apparently now I'm going to play around with Instagram. But there are tips and techniques to make it work. So Instagram, I think anyone who's doing anything visually or can express their words visually, which you all should be able to do, Instagram is a player for you. All right. So what else? What else would you suggest?
Well, again, it felt like out of the blue, but it ultimately wasn't. Again, a product of my blogging was that I got a sort of out of the blue email. Again, because of COVID, there's a television news magazine show, Chronicle, in the Boston area, and they're constrained by the virus they can't do overnight trips. And so they needed to stay in eastern Massachusetts. And so they were saying, well, where can we go? And I didn't realize one of the people who follows my blog is a retired cameraman from the Chronicle crew. And so they must have reached out to him and said, where should we go? And he said, you should talk to Marjorie. And so I got this out of the blue request. The challenge was they said, are you familiar with where these waterfalls are? Well, they were a little farther out than I really was familiar with. I wasn't able to help them with what they were asking for. So I was very honest and said, haven't been there, but have you looked here? Never just say no. Offer an alternative. If you have this kind of an opportunity and you can't fit exactly, well, no, I can't help you with that, but what do you think of this? They had to pause. They didn't just right away say, oh my goodness, that's wonderful. But within a day or two, they got back to me and then said, do you have time for a phone conversation? And from there, we went on, and they ended up featuring me. They do a natural wonders segment, fairly, I think quarterly or something. And it was a half-hour magazine television show. It's a network television. And so as I watched, because I didn't know what they did with the footage that they took of me, they didn't feature me first. Okay, well, that's okay. They'll put me in the middle. And the middle is okay. First is really exciting. The middle is wonderful. And then it was nearly the end, and I said, they're leaving me to the end. That's really the show closer. And that's really, basically, it's a real kudo to put you at the end of a television segment. And it was wonderful. They used my voice for voiceover, even if they weren't necessarily showing me for certain things. They highlighted my books. They took pictures of the books because I had brought them with me and gave them copies of the books. I wasn't finished with the Finding Easy Walks Wherever You Are, so I didn't get to get that into the episode. But I've now mailed it to the producer. And
with a little note.
Up.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. Yep. And, I had another thought. On your Facebook, how often do you post on your Facebook page?
I post something, not every day, but at least once or twice a week. But I have other things that I share onto those. I actually have a Facebook book page, and I have a group page that is more interactive that people can also contribute to, and that actually makes it so there's more things going on with the group. And I get a lot more views in the group. It's part of the Facebook algorithm, is they're willing. unless you do pay to play.
Oh, okay, but I have another idea that you can push out through your blog. You've got to fill, I don't know how many followers you have, but what about going back to Facebook and doing easy walks on Wednesday and do a live? Okay, I'm going to set you up here, Marjorie. Going back, because WW, so that's why I came up with Wednesday. But or easy walks on Wednesday promotes you've got your book there, and you can go through. And those things always are slow, but you start doing it, you record them, then you can throw them up on YouTube, and you could start a whole thing. It could be. Walking with Marjorie on Wednesday or something like that even. But I would play with it, and that you could start getting a whole new followers of coming on. Again, the outcome could be book sales.
Right.
So that's just really a thought. Yeah. And this ties in, one of the things you said that was always important to be generous on that. And I know I've just got a couple of minutes left before we wrap up, but that what you're doing is when you're giving your time, that's part of generosity. But, I've always a believer what goes around comes around, and it will come back to you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I loved your example of when you didn't know. I think that was such an important lesson, everyone, when you don't have the answer, or for Marjorie, she wasn't familiar with that section that they were asking her about. So was it a waterfall, Marjorie?
Yeah, it was a beautiful waterfall. I just haven't been to that area.
Yeah,
and
she gave him another alternative. Yeah, you gave him another alternative. Perfect. That's perfect. All right, so let's give the name of your book again. And her latest and greatest book is, Marjorie, tell them where they can get it.
Finding Easy Walks Wherever You Are.
Right, and you can go to the big A in the sky and find it.
Thank you so much, Judith.
You're so welcome. And I love the idea where you can cook on with a big name. LL Bean is not small potatoes, and they get enthusiastically behind you. But all of you've got companies around you that your book may be a link, something you're doing, something you're known for, that it just is going to be the right fit. And you never know until you reach out to see if it can happen. All right. We'll be back with all of you. Thank you so much to Marjorie Turner Holman, and I advise you to get your book. It's beautiful. If you're into walking and enjoying your surroundings, it's the perfect fit. We'll see you next week on AuthorU-Your Guide to Book Publishing, to your success.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week,